it's kind of laughable when I heard the Clybourne corridor. It wasn't even a street when I moved on there. Clybourne back in the 1970s was basically an abandoned factory district, and it was best known for car racing at night because there was no one around there. My story really starts from when I was a little kid, and I grew up working in the family dime store. For those of you that remember what a dime store is, the tin ceiling, the wood floor, the red windows. And it was on Armitage, right around the corner from where I started my business. And I grew up taking care of customers, and my father, my grandfather, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, my parents, and one employee, Edna. So I grew up working in the family dime store, and I went to college. You know, my parents didn't go to college, my father didn't go to college, and was about junior year getting an accounting degree, because that's what we're supposed to do. For those of you that aren't old enough to know this will be shocking to you, but in the 70s, the word entrepreneurship was not even used. It was not even, I took an interest test in high school, what I should go into, and the thing, I still have it, my mother saved it. It had 200 different occupations. There wasn't even business owner on there. There wasn't entrepreneur. It was like didn't even exist. So you were supposed to go to law school. That's what you're supposed to do. Medical school, law school, accounting, that's what you were supposed to do. So junior year, I have this sick feeling of, I was decent at accounting in the beginning, but then it just turned into reading tax codes and stuff. And now I realized I'm ADD in hindsight, and they didn't even have that. I don't think that was invented back then. But I certainly had it because I could not sit there and start reading books on tax codes. So I really learned to hate accounting at that point. And I went to my college counselor and I said, you know, I hated high school. I hated grammar school, actually. Actually, I hated kindergarten. I hate college. I don't know what to do with myself when I graduate. And she says to me, you know, if you really want to get anywhere today, you really have to get an MBA. So she didn't quite get it, and I continued junior year trying to figure out what I should do, and my parents' business was tiny. There was nowhere to go there. There was no way I was going into accounting, and I had done picture framing in high school and college with a friend of mine whose father owned a frame shop, and I liked it. And I thought, well, I could go into picture framing. I think I could do it better than what's out there, because at the time, in 1978, you went to the frame shop. It took 6 weeks to get the picture framed because they just didn't care, basically. It was an artsy business, and yeah, we'll call you when it's ready, and it really wasn't a developed business. And I thought to myself, I think I could do better than that, but I got to tell you, in the context of 1978, there was no entrepreneurship, there was no Inc. magazine, there was no Bill Gates, there was no anything. It was like, that's kind of an odd thing. So people would say to me, so I decided I was going to the picture frame business, and everyone in school would say, when are you sitting? That's accounting talk for when are you taking the CPA exam? When are you sitting? And I'm going to go into the frame business. You're what? You're going to waste your degree? I heard that 100 times. I heard the picture frame business, that's an old man's business. I think you could think of something better. So there was no support there. I come home. It's really difficult. I'm really traumatized by the whole idea of I went to college, I'm getting out of school. Did I mention I went to 3 colleges? I don't think I mentioned that. I also realized that I have kind of a manic personality. I went from University of Illinois in Chicago. Oh, I'll save all this money. That's what I'll do. And then after a year, I thought, no, you're supposed to have a good time in college. So I went to Arizona State to have a good time. And then I went back to NIU to finish. So this is all very clear in hindsight, but back then I just felt like a screw-up. So I tell my mother, and I can remember, you know how you have scenes in your head you can remember like yesterday? She was sitting on the bed with my sister, and I said, Mom, I decided I'm going to go into the picture frame business. And she took a deep breath and said, you went to school for 4 years and you ended up like your father. Yes! I was so numbed at that point. Seriously, it didn't even bother me. It really didn't. It's like, yeah, whatever. I had one supporter, one. My brother-in-law, who is 10 years older than me, was a lawyer. He actually is the Deputy Attorney General now. He's retiring at the end of the year. But at the time, he was a lawyer, and he said, Jay, try it now. If you're going to do it now, because if you don't, you're going to get trapped in the system and you'll never get out. And he was the only human being that said, yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea. Give it a shot. So I opened up on Clybourne and a 3rd floor walk-up loft. Now it's Wolf Camera, but this was not genius thinking and retailing. 3rd floor walk-up loft, no elevator, no air conditioning, but $200 a month. So you figure for $200 a month, I could do it for 6 months a year. If it doesn't work, I'll sell the inventory and go get a real job. So I opened up on Clybourne. First year I did $120,000 a year. Not bad. I made $20,000, which was pretty much what my accounting brethren were making there. Next year I did $240,000. You need to have perspective. In 2010, the average picture frame shop in the United States is $180,000 a year. In 2010, I was doing $240,000 the second year. Then I did $480,000. Then I hit $700,000, and then I hit $1 million. And everyone in the industry was like, huh? Including me. I couldn't figure out what was going on. It was just like going out of control. And it's kind of funny, the name of this is Breakthroughs. I could do this whole thing called Breakdowns because it was pretty much one long breakdown for about 15 years while I'm growing out of control. I've never had a mentor. I've never had a job. And did my father teach me anything about management? Edna. I told you, one employee, and I didn't really manage her well from what I can remember. Marketing, zip, it was a store, no advertising. Financials, all I knew is my father went up in the office once a week and wrote checks. So I really didn't have any day-to-day knowledge of how a business ran. Constant problems, constant headaches. I was like the duck in the shooting gallery, going back, telephone, customers, problem in the back, problem in the front, vendor problem, all day long. And this went on for a good 10 years. I mean, not in my stomach the whole day, putting out fires until I started figuring out, it took me till I was 30 before I figured out why I was growing so fast. Because I told you, no management expertise, no marketing. Here's what it is. My grandparents were immigrants, like many of your grandparents or your great-grandparents. Came off the boat, didn't speak English, with the 25 cents in their pocket. If they didn't take care of customers, they starved. No dinner that night. Don't sell whatever they're selling. They didn't eat that night. Well, I was weaned on customer service before they even had a title. Customer service is a somewhat new phrase. It wasn't around 30, 40 years ago. I was weaned on taking care of customers. There's a problem, take care of it, walk into the car. So I was always taking care of customers. No matter what I did wrong in the business, no matter what one of my employees did wrong, I always took care of it. I delivered it, I apologized, I took care of it. And I was really working hard to find better framing choices and giving better service. I've always had a one-week turnaround, which no one had and pretty much still don't. So I was really working hard to take care of customers because that's all I knew. So the business grew really fast. But what I didn't understand is, and I do seminars on this now, management's 75% hiring, really. And when I talk to business groups with 50 business people in it that have been in business for 20, 30 years, I say to them, would anyone disagree that the most important thing in business is hiring the right people? Or if not the most important, one of the most important? Yeah. Has anyone ever had a class on hiring? I don't know that a hand has ever gone up. So we even get business degrees. People never really understand the hiring process. And what I found out from myself and looking at others is the entrepreneur is an occupational hazard in that the entrepreneur is frequently the worst person to be doing the hiring. Now, why would that be? Let's think about the typical personality of an entrepreneur. They're optimists and they like people. That's not great when you're interviewing people because a lot of the people that you're interviewing are delusional and lying and aren't great, and you don't even notice it because you're so busy telling about, and customer service has really got us where we're at. Yes, he let customer service, he understands. And we spend so much time talking about our vision and our passion and where we're going, and they don't have to say much. And then at the end we think, I think this guy's good. And we say that, why? Because do we really want to be interviewing? Because you got 45 other things to do today, and you really don't want to put any more time into interviewing, so we hire. So as a result, I call it accidental hiring. My success rate was probably 50%, which means, I'd hire 5 people, 10 people, and 5 didn't work out. And the grief involved with all this and putting out the fires, it took me a long time to figure out that if you're putting fires out all day long, there's something wrong in your company. I found out the secret to business is find the arsonists. That's what you do. Get rid of the arsonists, and all of a sudden the fires stop. So really stressful going along, finally started getting under control, and the business kept growing. It hit $1 million, hit $2 million, hit $3 million. Today, Artists Frame Service is 20 times the size of the average frame shop. We do over $4 million a year, and I told you the average is 180. Opened up a home and garden store, Jason Home and Garden, opened up an art business, have a wholesale molding business. So now I have 103 employees, and I have less grief today with 103 employees than I had when I had 10. There's no comparison. But along the way, this is what happened. So now it's about 15 years in, starting to kind of got it under control. And I had hired a woman called Lily Booker, who was, when I hired her, she was 55, worked at another framing place, was out of work. And I hired her because she seemed like she knew what she was doing, and it worked out great. So she works for me for 10 years, and I really didn't have that much to do with her because I wasn't running the factory at that point. So 10 years go by. She's now 65. She's retiring. So I was still in my old location. I have that whole building where Wolf Camera is at that point. Had a cafeteria, and I had some cake and a little retirement party. So I stand in front of about 30 people, and I do a little speech about thanks to Lily for her contributions, wish her well, blah, 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 blah. And I finish. And she walks up to me. Now, I probably haven't had 5 minutes of conversation with her in the 10 years because, like I said, she was in production. I'm not one of these guys that walks around and talks to, how's the family? Oh, how's your daughter doing? For better or worse, it's just not what I do. So I hadn't talked to her a whole lot. She walks up to me. The crowd's still eating cake and taking their break because it's free time, what the hell. So they're having a good time over here. And she walks up to me, and she looks me in the eye. This is my breakthrough moment. She looks me in the eye and she says, when you hired me, I never thought I'd work again. And it really took the wind out of me. I never thought about it. I had spent the last 15 years torturing myself about all the people I shouldn't have hired and all the management mistakes I made and the people that lied to me and stole from me and the people that I had problems with. And it never occurred to me that there's people like her that I provided a job for, and as I'm talking to her, I'm telling you, it was like a movie. I look over her shoulder at the 20 people still milling around, and I look at them and I realize he's been with me for 18 years, 16 years, 14 years. I've had a profound impact on 20 people. 20 years, profound impact, gave them job security, gave them self-confidence. I've taken people, when I moved in on Clybourne was almost all Intercraft Industries. The whole thing where Crate and Barrel and Trader Joe's, that whole building, the whole building where the storage building is, that entire block, including the building I'm in now, where my office and the showroom is, was all Intercraft Industries. They made really cheap photo frames like you buy for $1 at Walmart. I had hired about 6 people away from there when they decided to move to Texas, and they were union employees. One day got a pink slip, done, out of work. And I've taken people that were hourly workers, and now they're supervisors. And they've got job security. They've been there for 15 years, 20 years. The 5 of them I hired was 1986, so it's been 24 years already. I realized I've had a profound impact on these people, and that's when I realized that business is not just about income. It's about outcome. And certainly outcome does include your income. But it's not just about money. At least to me it isn't. It's half about money. I think it's half about money, and it's half about, are you taking care of customers? Are you doing good things for customers? Are you making their lives better? Do you have employees? Have you made their lives better? I looked around my management meeting, which has got about 10 people in it, and I realized I've helped 8 of them buy houses in the last 10 years. Now, that might not be a good thing in some cases with the economy where it's at in real estate, but still, I feel good about that. I feel very fulfilled about that, which leads me into, I was about 40 when this happened. So it really did, I swear that one moment really did change my perspective. I no longer tortured myself with all the mistakes I made and realized, you know what, you make mistakes, you also do some good things, and I feel great about the fact that my average employee has been there 12 years. And my turnover, if you go to my framing showroom, there are people, most of them in the showroom have been there for 10, 12 years. They're almost the same people. There's very little turnover. I feel very good about that. And then I got through my 40s, and somebody told me 20 years ago, he said, Jay, everybody realizes they have limitations. It usually happens when you're about 50. And when he told me this, I was about 30 years old, and I was growing like crazy, and I said to myself, that's pathetic. I mean, that's just pathetic. I don't have any limitations. And just like he said, I started nearing 50, and my whole mentality has dramatically changed now. And now I realize, yes, everyone does have limitations, including me for sure. And what's changed is you have to figure out what you want. I will tell you, entrepreneurship is terribly misunderstood. It's kind of ironic that when I started, well, here's the most ironic part. All those kids I went to school with, the smart ones, went to work where? Arthur Andersen. in a million years would you have said, oh, in 20 years, you're going to have a multi-million-dollar business and you guys are all going to be out of work? Arthur Andersen went down after all those years. So you have to decide what's important to you. And I realized at 50, I don't have anyone to answer to anymore. I don't have landlords. I don't have partners. I'm mostly out of the bank. And I've decided that's a very important thing to me, that I don't want to have all of those things, and I don't want to have to answer to any of those people. And that was one of my goals. And entrepreneurship is terribly misunderstood because it went from being not even talked about to now it is painted as this romantic thing that if I hear this one more time about just follow your passion. 70% of entrepreneurs go broke. And the ones that I've talked to, they were passionate. What went wrong there? And I'm thrilled to be here because I think DePaul's doing a great job with educating entrepreneurship. It's just not that simple, I'm sorry to say. It's just not that simple. It requires, right out of school, marketing, management, and finance. And you better get a handle on all three, because the reason why the failure rate is so high is because most people are great at one, maybe even gifted. They're great salespeople, they're great with finances, and they're really good at the second one. And the third one, oh, I can't deal with that stuff. Oh, I'm not a good salesperson. Oh, I can't handle the math. I don't like the finances. That's why people go broke, because you can't be good at it. You have to be really good at one, really competent in second, and competent enough at the third one. And this whole romantic vision of, you go to these magazines, you read them about it, there's so much fluff in there, it's unbelievable. It's really tragic because people go in there and they lose their life savings because it just isn't as simple as it appears. So what I've learned is entrepreneurship, you should start out with figuring out what is it you really want, because I would argue a lot of these success stories you read about, these heroes of business, have extremely messed up lives. Have you read any of the books? I mean, extremely messed up lives. And maybe financially they're successful, but they sure don't seem happy. And entrepreneurship is not about, I was written up in the book called Small Giants, Companies Decide to Be Great Instead of Big. We're kind of hooked on this growth thing now. And you know what? I bought a house on a golf course now, and I don't golf. But I'll tell you, it's great, because I can look out my window at the 13th hole, and I see these 4 guys come every 15 minutes, right on schedule, and it gives me perspective of, A, I'm not one of those guys, I realize. I'm not like that. And 2, there's a lot of people grossing $5, $10 million a year, have tremendous bottom lines, and are happy. And there's plenty of people with $300 million businesses that are miserable, so it's not about size. It's about being happy, and that's what the goal should be. And I will tell you, they should be giving awards to someone else out there. They should be giving awards. Today is my 32nd anniversary. They should be giving awards to the husbands and wives that have put up with the nutcases they married all of those years. Should you be getting an award here? Should you be getting an award? There should be awards for the husbands and wives that have put up with the whole thing, because it's not a normal lifestyle. And they never get any credit. It's always about so those are my closing thoughts. Thank you.